Yes. I guess first of all, why talking about the tool that geeks use, but I should probably say seldom talk about. What I was just thinking is that you could say what makes us human beings stand out from animals. You know, it kind of starts with that. The opposable thumb enabled us to start making tools. Yeah, it enabled us to start making tools that made us more effective. Now, this progression has carried on through countless eons, or centuries, decades, and so millennia, to the point where we reach now. Who do you think in our society, in our culture, are the most effective tool makers and tool users? I'd like to argue that geeks really do that. You know, it's like that's what we're about. It's like, actually, no, I want to be lazy. I don't want to do this again. I'm going to make myself a tool so that I don't have to ever do it again. So the constant search for the latest tool, the latest thing to make my life easier, just seems to be kind of like de rigueur for a practicing geek and technologist. But there is this one tool that I'm positing here that, regardless of your background, regardless of your technology stack, are you a .NET developer or a Unix-based developer, Java, whatever, we all use it. Without our mind, we are not much different from a piece of stone. Yeah? So, okay, so I would like to do a little exercise. I'd like you to do a little exercise for me, okay? So I would like you all to, if you've got your laptop open, I'd like you to close it. And if you've got your phone with you, switch it off, okay? Right, now, that wasn't really the exercise. What I would like you to do is to just observe, how did you feel when I said that? Yeah? Did you feel annoyed? Did you feel frustrated? What the hell is he talking about? Or did you feel gloating? I haven't got my laptop open. Yeah? Or, you know, what was your response in that moment? Yeah? So that is hopefully a simple example of how we are constantly responding to stimuli around us all of the time. Yeah? That little thing happens moment by moment by moment throughout our entire lives. And particularly, in this context, throughout our working lives. Yeah? So as we're interacting with other people, they're doing things that may well cause these reactions. Yeah? The more conscious we can be of that, the more scope we have to just, okay, yeah, I'm annoyed. Right, okay. Rather than just hitting out and fighting back or pushing back, etc. Yeah? So that, I hope, gives you a little flavor of how a little bit of being a little bit more aware of what's going on for us in the moment can have a distinct and substantial impact on our experience of life and also our effectiveness in our work. Yeah. So, first, a little bit about me. Actually, I'm not going to read any of that because it's already been said. And the bit that's not said on there is just to say, why am I talking about this topic? So I've been a Buddhist and meditator for some 20 years. I was given my Buddhist name, Upayavira, which I'm sure strikes you as unusual, in the year 2000. So I've been meditating and practicing mindfulness and teaching meditation for, probably a decade and a half now. But what's been happening, as I'll talk about in a few moments, is there's a new development, there's a development that's kind of capturing the popular consciousness of this thing called mindfulness. Yeah. So I just want to say my background is, I've been meditating, I've been practicing mindfulness, but I'm not a certified trainer in the thing that they call mindfulness. Yeah. That may come in time, but not yet. So what is mindfulness? So Jon Kabat-Zinn is the chap who formulated this particular approach. And he said of it, this is his short definition: paying attention in the present moment non-judgmentally. So we're paying attention. We're not paying attention to the past or to the future, considering what happened in that meeting and, oh no, what have I got to do next? No, we're saying, what's here and now? How am I now? So paying attention in the present moment non-judgmentally. Non-judgmentally is a really, really important part of it. So, and if any of you wonder what that is, just a quick show of hands. Who here is familiar with Scrum? Yeah, most people here. Okay. So at the end of a Scrum period, yeah, you finish the Scrum and then you have a retrospective. Yeah, familiar with that idea? So you come with your team and you say, okay, what worked and what didn't work? So now maybe one colleague says, actually, we tried to develop that module and we completely got the scope of it wrong. It was far too much effort for the time we had, and we all got turned into stress balls. It was horrible. And would one of your colleagues say, well, actually, it doesn't really surprise me because it was your fault. You messed up. That's not what you do, is it, in a retrospective? It's saying, okay, that's interesting. Yes, that didn't feel right, did it? So how can we respond differently? How can we act differently in relation to this? So in this context, in the context of mindfulness, I might find myself in a situation where I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, him, I want to rip his head off. Okay, and I'm aware of that. Okay, yeah. So, and I'm not saying to myself, and I'm a bad person because I feel that. Yeah, it's just what's there. Yeah. So that's where I see the sort of the non-judgmental quality, and personally, I think that's just incredibly powerful if we learn to just see what's there. Just opens all sorts of possibilities up. Hang on, I pressed the wrong button there. So, I mentioned Jon Kabat-Zinn and how he formulated this particular approach to mindfulness. The ideas of mindfulness go back millennia. They've been taught through spiritual traditions for a long time. Jon Kabat-Zinn formulated it into what he called mindfulness-based stress reduction in sometime around 1979. More recently, the amount of research that's been done on it has been increasing over time. Actually, I saw a graph of the number of research papers published on the subject, and it was literally exponential to the point where I think it was some 397 academic studies were done on mindfulness in the year 2011. So there's a growing body of research that aims to look at the impact of some very simple practices on behavior, on the structure of the structure of the brain, as we'll see in a couple of slides' time. So the effect of all this research is that it's becoming more widely accepted as an approach, as a thing to do, to the point where mindfulness was recently taught in the UK government. It's been used by the US military. The UK, obviously you can tell I'm from the UK, the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, which is responsible for defining UK health best practice, has recommended mindfulness as a suitable treatment for depression. So it's really kind of found its way into our culture. And a lot of that's because there's been so much research has been done to show that it has positive impacts. So I just want to read a couple of things here. So there have been studies in Harvard and elsewhere have shown that after an 8-week course of mindfulness training, there is a significant increase in brain grey matter concentration in areas associated with sustained attention, emotional regulation, and perspective taking. The training also increases activity in your left prefrontal cortex, which is a predictor of happiness and well-being. Yeah? So that's just an example of some of the directly identified and scientifically proven benefits of this. Also, a study carried out by of all people, the US Marine Corps, found that those Marines who were trained in mindfulness experienced improved mood and working memory. Under pressure, they were more capable of complex thought and problem solving, and they had better control of their emotions. Yeah? So, suggests it's quite kind of potent stuff. And not only that, it's also being taken up in the IT world. Recently, so Google has its own, I don't know that they call it mindfulness training, but part of their mentorship program includes mindfulness elements. So, I think what I'd like to do now is to say, do you fancy trying some? Should we have a go? Yeah? So, all I'm going to say is if we just if you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. It's purely an invitation. We're going to do maybe 5-7 minutes of sitting quietly, potentially with our eyes shut. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. But all I ask you to do is be mindful of the other people in the room who may want to do it. That's all. Okay? So, first of all, just closing our eyes. Feeling ourselves sitting here, feeling our feet on the floor, our bum on the cushion, feeling our head poised, now, in the midst of all of this, we can notice that we're breathing. We're actually always doing it, but we don't always notice. Just take our attention to the sensations of our breathing. We're not trying to change our breathing, we're just trying to observe, to feel it. Maybe looking if we can identify a few words that describe it. Is it still, agitated, rapid or slow? Can you notice the point where a breath starts? You notice where the point where a breath ends. And remembering the quality of non-judgment. Just checking in with what's our mind doing, our thoughts. Just being interested, is it easy to stay with the breath, the sensations of the breath? Or are our minds busy, thinking about the latest project or planning the rest of the day? When you're ready, maybe taking a deep breath and opening your eyes. And perhaps it's interesting to just ask yourself a simple question. How was that? And how do you feel now? Do you feel any different? Yeah. In a way, I can't predict. There's too many of you, and as many people as there are in the room, there's that many different responses to it. Yeah. But perhaps if you do feel a little bit calmer, a little bit stiller, maybe a little bit clearer minded, maybe you saw what was going on in your mind and think, oh my God, it's busy, isn't it? All those repeated, doing that simple thing in a repeated way, just a small portion of it like that can make a huge difference over time. As moving on to the next slide, that one is just a nice picture. I thought it was a nice picture, so I thought I'd show it. But this one actually shows the sort of thing that can actually be going on in your own brain by doing what we've just done. Yeah. So you can see on the left is a baseline scan. And on the right, you can see an increase in active brain matter when the particular person was actually meditating. Yeah. So direct, tangible impact on the structure of the brain, activating more parts of your brain, making your brain work better. For me, I've found that it has helped increase not so much my efficiency, but my effectiveness. Just being able to take that step back, see what I need to do, and just be ready to do the right thing much, much more readily than I was in years gone by. So, well, we've actually done that, haven't we? So, here's some, if any of you are interested, I imagine these slides will be made available afterwards. There's some resources that you can look up if you're interested. My own company, Adoko, we're focusing on, at the moment, particularly on IT training, but we're also looking at, as a team, how to make sure we use mindfulness in the way we interact with each other, so that in order to make our work more effective. And we are able to offer services if people are interested in taking mindfulness into your workplace, to look at how it can make your work that bit more efficient. Then we can certainly help with that. So that's all I have to say. I guess we've got a few moments for questions if people want to. Or is everyone so still and chilled after that short meditation? No? Oh, we have one, yes.
Do you have any recommendations on how one might be able to force themselves to do that? Like if there are certain practices you have, like set a certain time?
So the question was how to force yourself to do it. I guess the way I see that is actually usually, if you look at how we are, none of us are one way, none of us are one person. We actually have all these different bits. So one part of us wants to do it and the rest of us can't be bothered. Yeah, that's quite common. So yes, what you're saying is establishing habits. So for a long time I would just roll out of bed and land on my meditation cushion. And that was the way I did it in the morning. And I didn't think about it beforehand. So finding places where in your life pattern where it works. But also, I think one of the key things that the mindfulness movement has brought is that actually you can sit on your bum for 2 hours a day and leave afterwards and be as irascible and annoying and everything as ever. Yeah? The key is when you bring what you gain from there into your everyday life. So simple things like, we all have, I was going to wave this around as a mobile phone, it's not, but pretend it was. How about a simple thing of every time your mobile phone rings, making a commitment not to answer it for at least 2 rings. Yeah. So I'm going to, and when it's ringing, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to take my mind off what I'm doing. I'm going to take a deep breath, recollect myself, look at who's ringing, and then say, okay, I'm now ready to communicate with you, go. Yeah? So looking for those sorts of gaps in our lives. Maybe just deciding that actually whenever I walk upstairs, I'm going to feel my feet pressing on the steps as I go. Yeah? Looking for things like that where and also keep it small. Yeah? If you want to establish a practice doing this sort of thing to gain the benefits of it long term, if the first thing you decide is I'm going to do 2 hours of meditation every day, it will not work. But if you say I'm going to do a minute a day, yeah, then once you really start enjoying it and benefiting from it, getting that up to 5 is easy. Yeah. So I hope that this is useful and that it can help bring benefit to you in both in your personal lives and in your work. So, thank you.